Mr. Kavin Williams.
Thank you. Thank you. You talk about reinventing yourself. Kind of walk the ladder with that. So, Marine Corps, I wouldn't trade that time for anything. Then I was able to go to law enforcement, and it was really, I liked being in law enforcement. It was allowing me the opportunity to really impact people's lives. And so that's important to me. I think there's something that I say I have a passion for, it's people. Because those are all service-oriented careers that I've been in, and leads me to thank them. And I really like what it is that I do, and the opportunities over and above, someone coming in, making a deposit, or sitting down with me and opening a checking account. The relationship, that personal banker. I didn't know that I was supposed to have a relationship with a personal banker in my bank. Nobody taught me that. And so, one of the things that I say to everyone is wherever you go, if you can't say yes to these two questions, when I walk in my bank, do I have a personal banker? And do they know me by first name when I walk in my bank? How many people can say that? If you can't, you need to turn around and walk back out that doorway and find a bank. Because you are just as important. See, I always thought you were supposed to have 6 figures on deposit in the bank to have that relationship. And you got to go sit down at the marble table and have those conversations. I don't care if you have dollars in that bank. You're supposed to have that same relationship and contact. Okay? So when I'm able to sit down and talk to people about how to repair their credit scores, how to build or establish credit, how to do savings and budgeting planning. I'm qualified to say and talk about those things not because of the class that I've sat through or something I read in a book, but from personal experience. Life is the best teacher, right? Okay. So I know what it feels like to have to bring my credit score from a 415, okay, to a 797 as of last week. Okay. So finance, handling your money, budgeting is all discipline and consistency. Those two things have to be there, okay? So between goals and achievement, discipline and consistency. You might get right there. Between goals and achievement, discipline and consistency. So that, if you have that in place in your personal finances first, your business has no choice but first. Okay? My basketball coach in high school in Muncie, Indiana. In Muncie, Indiana, he used to always tell us, you play the way you practice. Okay? So you can't show up to practice and think, okay, I'm just going to go through the motions, and then we're going to show up game night, and it's all going to come together. So you use your personal finances, your personal credit, your personal budget. That's practice for your job, for your business. Don't we agree on that? I got 2 questions I want to ask you guys before I get started on credit scores and all that good stuff. What will it take for you to say yes to your greatness? And you just, this is a rhetorical question, so you can answer it for yourself. What will it take for you to say yes to your greatness? The greatness that's in you, everybody in here. What will it take for you to say yes? And then not rescind that yes when we leave. And you get scared. Oh, it was yesterday, that was... Now I'm outside and I'm scared because I'm all alone and I have to navigate this by myself. What will it take for you to say yes to your greatness? And The second question is just simply, what if? What if you got to start the race knowing you were going to win? What if before the very first pitch, you knew that you already had the victory? How big would you play? How fast would you run and just leap? If you knew you were going to win, how many people would you tell? How many nights would you have to make yourself go to sleep? Because you knew, regardless, I already win. I already know what the outcome is. There's no magic wand for that. There's no secret code. It's just you and I here right now. But what does it take for you to entertain that level of thinking? In your personal, your business, your everyday life, your relationships? So start thinking about just living each day and playing with reckless abandon. Don't worry about what the outcome is. You just play. You just be a willing participant. Okay? Change your thoughts about what it is you can do and what you can and who you are. Your thoughts become things. Okay? So, I think it was Confucius said, he who says he can and he who says he can't are usually both right. Yeah. So, just what if? Just think about that to yourself in your own space. What if? I commend everyone in here that is a business owner. It takes courage to not keep that desire and that vision tucked away because you're scared of what if it doesn't work. But you go ahead and you step out and you create this thing because your gift really has nothing to do with it. It's not for you. So if I'm not walking in my purpose and doing the things that I'm supposed to do on a daily basis, I'm being pretty selfish. Because that person that I meet that day that may be able to get an impact from something that I see, or I'm able to inspire that person with something that I told them, a conversation we had. That's who that's for. It's not for you. You know, we get all lofty and caught up in ourselves sometimes, and we enjoy a little bit of success, and it's all about us. Your gift isn't for you. So take you out of it. Okay? That's my little foundation. But want to talk about some credit? All right, guys. Like I said, with finance, for me personally, I just, it's discipline. If you don't have that, I can sit down with you and we can work out and map out the perfect plan. Get everything in line. We can create a budget. We can find some margins in there. We can really adopt Ann's couponing, which I pray everybody in here takes heed to that. So there's a lot of money that you can save if you'll just take the time to do that. And like she teaches, if you take the time and set it up and organize those things as you do that, it becomes easier because you have a system in place. But it's just discipline. If you get up and you leave my office with that perfect plan, I can't make you do it. That's all up to you. Any of these other advisors, financial advisors in here, they can map out the perfect strategy for you. It's all about you and your discipline. Okay? So that's, if you don't have that, that's just something that, let's say you need to do. Okay? Discipline, that's what it takes. FICO, who can tell me what FICO stands for? Anybody? It's fair, Isaac and Company. So that's what that's the company that actually created the scoring system. So that's what FICO stands for. Okay. Just a little piece of it, and most people don't know that. So you're not any different than anyone else. So I had to look it up myself. So FICO, Fair, Isaac and Company. That's what that stands for. So they are the ones that create the credit scores, and I think them and probably one other person in the universe knows what that calculation system and how that thing breaks down. But having a good credit score today means a lot more than it did several years ago. Okay, when our grandparents and our great-grandparents were here, they were patient. First of all, when they saw something that they wanted, they didn't have to have it right now. But we have a microwave generation, so we see something, we gotta have it right now. And so, they would save their money and they would go purchase the thing that they wanted. They really didn't need credit cards or good credit or anything like that. But credit means a lot more today. A lot of job interviews, that's part of the process. So if for no other reason, I don't want to miss out on an opportunity that I'm qualified for because my credit score isn't where it needs to be. Now, personally, I don't necessarily agree with that because I know that bad things happen to good people all the time, right? But the game is what it is, so we have to learn how to play within the rules. So your credit score, when it comes time to make that large purchase, that's when that credit score can make a difference. Okay? If it's a house, if it's a car, if it's insurance, if it's renting an apartment, whatever it is, okay, that credit score is going to make a difference. What you'll see as your credit score begins to go up is that you'll begin to have a peace where your finances are concerned. Because if you have a healthy credit score, that speaks directly to how you manage and handle your finances. You agree on that? Yeah. So credit just means a lot more today. Okay. Basically, the two different types of credit you're going to have are revolving credit, which are credit cards, things like that. Something that you're going to have a limit on. I can spend as little of that or as much up to that limit as I need to, and pay that back down and use that money over and over. Okay? Revolving credit, and then you have installments. So a car note, for example, there's a set term established with that. I'm taking 36 months, and I make the same payment every month, and at the end of that 36 months on a specific date, I'm done with that payment. So a car note is a good example of that. Okay? So write these down because, again, a lot of this stuff, we just don't know. But I'm going to show you right now how your credit score is broken down and what areas have the most impact on your score, okay? So the first area, payment history. 35% of your score is based on how your payment history looks. Okay? So there's a lot of things that fall into that. And we'll go over that here in just a minute. The next one is the amounts owed. Amounts owed, 30% of your score. So you can see just with those two there, that's a big piece of how your score is calculated. The next one, types of credit used. Types of credit that you use, 10%. That's 10% of your score. New credit is 10%. New credit. And then the final one is length of credit history, and that's 15%. length of credit history, 15%. So, that's your breakdown there. We'll, let's touch on just briefly new credit and that 10% piece there. A lot of times if we go through a bad period of time with credit and we're able to get those things, if it's collections or whatever type of medical bills or whatever it is, we get those things paid off and we get them behind us and we say, okay, I've got this done and away and I'm not touching credit anymore. I'm done with it. I'm just going to deal cash only. I don't need a credit card. I don't need any type of... The most important thing after a bad length of time with bad credit is to reestablish good credit and on-time payment. That's the most important thing for you to do. So don't do like I did when I got out of the Marine Corps and I got a lump sum of money in one check, and I took that and I just paid one lump payment to all the debt that I had and just paid it off in one day. That was the worst thing at 22 years old that I ever could have done, but I didn't know. Okay. What I should have done is taken that same money and taken maybe 3 to 6 months, or maybe 8 months, and made larger payments on those debts and paid them off, because that reestablishes on-time payment. If I take a large sum of money and I just pay off a debt that I owed and it's been maxed out this entire time, the credit agencies view that and see, okay, they just ran into a large sum of money and dropped it on this and paid it off, but it doesn't speak to my credit worthiness. It doesn't say that I learned my lesson. I just got a large sum of money. So, new credit, keep that in mind. Know your credit score at all times, or somewhere close to it. Somebody asks you your credit score, you should be able to get within a certain, at least 20 to 25 point range of what your score is at any given time. And if you don't know that, and again, most people don't. There's too many avenues and areas out here for you to be able to get your credit score free. For you not to know that. We have to educate ourselves and we just, if you know better, you do better. So always know where your credit score is, and we'll have some information at the back for some things you can do to get free credit reports. Let's talk about inquiries while we're on that. I'll jump forward a little bit. There's two types of inquiries, and we always get caught up in how many inquiries do I have, this and that. Well, there's a soft, this was called a soft inquiry and a hard inquiry. So if you are going to a business or organization, Karma, Free Credit Karma, or somewhere like that, that their purpose is to give you what your credit report and your score is. That's considered a soft inquiry. Okay? So that it doesn't have the negative impact on your credit for a soft inquiry. Anytime you're going to any type of lending institution or seeking financing, that's considered a hard pull or hard inquiry. So here's what happens and what makes people gun shy with getting a credit pull. Because honestly, one credit pull, one hard credit pull, it's going to be anywhere probably between 1 to 4, maybe 1 to 5 points per inquiry. Okay, so if you pull it one time, it's not really going to affect you too bad. All right. Well, what happens is we go to the car dealership and we sit down with the car salesman and start talking about the car and test drive it and we love it. And, all right, let's get approved for financing. So they take down your information and your social security number, they run to the back, and they've got a portfolio of maybe 20 to 25 different finance companies that they're going to send your credit, your social security number to, and each one of them is going to make their own individual inquiry. So you went to do one transaction and to buy one thing, but you got 10 or 15 different inquiries for one purchase. Do we know that? Yeah. So the better thing to do, again, and this is where a good credit score comes in, is if I have a good, healthy credit score, I can go to my credit union, or I can go to my bank and sit down with my personal banker. We'll all have one after today, right? Yes. I hope it's me, but we'll all have one today. And then we get approved for financing through our bank. So now it's a totally different conversation when I go to the car lot now. I already know how much I'm approved for. I know what my interest rate is. I know what my payment's going to be. So it really puts you back in control with that car salesman that has been trained all these different ways to lure you in and trick you into, you know, falling in love with this car, regardless of what the payment is going to be. Okay? But you have one inquiry from your bank for one purchase. Now, here's what I also say about that. If you are approved for, let's say you want a $20,000 deal. Okay? Comes back and you're approved for $40,000. It doesn't mean you have to use $40,000. And don't change your mind, because you probably still need that $20,000 car. Because there's other factors that come into getting approved, debt to income ratio, things like that. But what debt to income ratio doesn't take into effect, debt to income ratio just speaks to what shows on the bureau that you owe. But it didn't talk to your utility bills, cable, all the other monthly expenses that we have to take care of. So if I know that I can afford this $20,000 payment, be disciplined and stay there. Just because that says, man, I was going to get a Toyota Prius, and now I want a Lexus. No. Be disciplined and stay where you know you can comfortably make that payment. If anything, make larger monthly payments and accelerate the time that you pay it off. That $20,000 bill. Okay? Any questions on that? Is this helping? Okay. Credit mix, that's 10%. Again, that talks about your mix between installment debt and revolving debt. Okay? It's good to have, a good mix of both of those. Not a lot, just a good healthy mix. If I've got a car, or I have a household, and I've got 2 cars, and, I have maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 credit cards that I have, one for emergencies and one that we use and operate with. That's a good healthy mix. Just make sure you make those payments on time. Now, let's talk about payments on revolving debt, because again, this is one thing that I didn't know, and hopefully this will really help a lot of us, okay? When you make that payment is very, very important. Not just the due date. Let's throw due date out for a minute, okay? Due date is important, but it's not as important as when your billing cycle date is. So if you don't know what that is, go home and get your statement out and see what your billing cycle, your closing date is on whatever that bill is. And this is why that's important. That closing date is the day that that institution reports your balance and your payment to the credit bureau. So if that closing date is the 18th of the month, then I need to make sure that, I want to make that payment and be down below utilization, credit utilization. We understand what credit utilization percentage is. Let's say I have a $300 limit on a credit card. Okay, now I can use that every month to pay gas, groceries, and whatever, you know. But when I make that payment, I'm really not concerned with that minimum payment. That minimum payment is a trap. That is a trick of the devil. That minimum payment will keep you paying from now on. You pay longer on a $5,000 balance than you will on a house, making that minimum payment, okay? But if you have the ability, use that same scenario with 300, if you have the ability to pay that off or close to a zero balance by that closing date, at least pay it down to 25% of what you're allotted to borrow from. So $300, pay it down to $20 or $25 remaining on that balance by that closing date. Because now when that reports to your bureaus, it's showing, yeah, he's making on-time payments, but he's also not maxing out everything that's there for him to borrow. And that's the trap, because it's the same conversation. I've had this debt for 5 years, and I've paid on time, and I've never been late, and I can't understand why my credit score is not going up. In fact, it's gone down, and I don't know why. But then when I sit down and I look at the credit bureau, and I've got a $300 limit, and yes, I've paid on time for 5 years. I've never been late, but my balance is $290 each month. $200 each month. I'm at or close to that high credit limit on that. And typically, if I'm at or close to that one, if I look on down, it's probably going to be the same story for the rest of your revolving debt. So you're maxed out, you're paying on time, but you're maxed out or close to it on everything that you have. So you're one catastrophe, one life incident. Life just has to happen one time for all of that to come tumbling down. If I lose my job, if I go out on disability or whatever happens, this balance that I've been juggling with my money to pay this minimum payment and pay it on time is going to tumble really quick. And the bureaus take that into consideration. Okay? So know your closing dates and your billing dates. That's very, very, very important. Okay? I'm going to leave no time. Good? Okay. Length of credit history. Now, there's always a debate back and forth on length of credit history and how do I know what cards or what debts to leave open. How do I know which ones I need to close? Okay? The accounts that you have the longest histories on, you need to, if at all possible, if it isn't a lot of them, you need to leave some of those open, okay? Because if I've got a 10-year history of payments on this credit card, I don't want to close that because I lose that history that is positive towards my score. Maybe I want to look at what I have that has the highest interest rate, or what do I have that has had the shortest term out of all of these, and kind of look at those things. Now, obviously, like I said, if you've got a ton of cards and department store cards and things like that, yeah, we need to close some of those. But just be mindful of that, and sitting down with an advisor, a financial advisor, or a personal banker, or whoever, they can kind of help you navigate through that. Okay? Does that make sense? So let's look at a couple of things you guys have there in your hand. I know we gave you a ton of different sheets here, but that first one, Renee touched on it when she was giving me my nice introduction, as she always does. This 52-week money challenge, savings, if you will. I don't care if it's your business that you own or if you're still working for a company. The most important person to get paid every payday first is you. Before you pay anybody else, you give you 10%. I understand that. But the most important person after that is you. You need to pay yourself something every payday. Now, I really don't care how much it is, because that's really not important. It's establishing the habit of doing it that's the most important. Okay? So I think a lot of times we don't save because we think we don't have a certain amount, that it's not enough and it's not really going to make much of a difference. That's not true. The establishing of the habit of paying yourself something every payday is what's most important. Okay? Now, if you look at this sheet, this chart here, and my daughter is doing this, by the way. My daughter's a full-time student at TSU right now, and she's working part-time at CVS. So on part-time money, she's doing what I'm about to show you with this. So there's 52 weeks in a year, right? Okay, so week 1, as you see there, you put $1 in the account. And each week you add $1. So week 2, $2, week 3, $3, so on and so forth. Okay, so Brittany, my daughter Brittany, is about at week 34 right now. Okay, so as she gets to week 52, the most she's had to put in at one time is $52. Now, if you don't have $52 to pay yourself at any given time, that's a totally different conversation we need to have after we finish. And I'll be correct to set up that appointment, okay? $52 is what she has to put in on that 52nd week. Now, she's disciplined, and she doesn't touch that money that entire 52-week period. At the end of that 52 weeks, that 12 months, $1,378 she has in her savings account. Now, I know a lot of grown folks been working a long time that don't have $1,300 saved in a coffee can or anywhere else, right? So what this is designed to show you is that it doesn't take a lot. Now, you play with that number as far as what you put in anywhere you need to. If you have the ability to pay more, then put in more. If it needs to be less in the beginning, use less. But the consistency is what you need, and this works. You know, I mean, if I'd have known this 22 years ago when my daughter first got here, what an impact this could have had for her right now while she's a student, full time. And I wouldn't have had to let her get a part-time job, because I could have given her a monthly stipend out of what we saved for her, so she could just concentrate on studies. Even as a business owner, you need to prepare for retirement. So whatever you have set up as far as IRAs or mutual funds or anything like that, that's good, and continue to do that. But we need more. We need to be prepared for 30 years of life after 65. Because we're living an average of 30 years past 65 now. So I don't want to get 5 years into retirement and run out of money and have to go back to work at 70. I want to be done. So, you know, again, if you haven't started saving, even if you have a 401k or a pension plan in place, that's fine. Continue to do that. But add this too. You know, the impact this can have on having an emergency fund for saving for your business, or if the hot water heater breaks or the car isn't working. You know, my wife and I have 2 savings accounts. We join on all of our accounts. I don't believe in splitting up money. That's another conversation. We'll have them back. Emergency savings, vacation/Christmas savings. 2 different savings accounts. So we have it automatically set up to when the check hits our main checking account, it automatically puts money in each one of those accounts. It does it for me every pay period. I don't have to remember to do it. I don't have to think about it. It automatically, I set it up on the front end. It does it for me. Every time you get a raise, you give yourself a raise in your savings accounts. Start with a goal in that emergency savings of $1,000. I don't care how long it takes you to get there. Just make that your goal. $1,000 I want to get in that savings account. However I need to get there. You know, if we've got a goal, then we know what we're reaching for. The next goal after that, you want to have 3 months of your take-home monthly pay. That's my next goal for that emergency savings. And then the final one, 6 months So if I've got 6 months of my take-home monthly pay in emergency savings for whatever happens, I'm in a pretty good place. Agree with that? Time? Good. So that's that money challenge. Now, Renee, we talked a couple weeks ago, and she sent me a text. She said, "Kevin, I got something I want to go over with you." So, you know, Renee is really good at taking things to the next level. And so she said, "Kevin, I really like this 52-week savings plan, and I'm going to, you know, challenge some people to do this, but I'm going to do it a different way." I said, "Okay, Renee, what are we doing?" She said, "I'm going to do it in 52 days. I said, "Okay, I'm listening. Tell me, yeah. I'm going to take this same plan that we do every week, and I'm going to do it in 52 days. So day 1, I'm going to put $1 in there. Day 2, I'm going to put $2. And I'm going to just see where I end up in 52 days. So I don't know if she'll want to share, but maybe she'll share with us once I'm finished how that's gone for her. But, you know, again, the only thing that matters is that, number 1, it provoked her to even think about it. And she's doing something. So it's not too late. We just got to move like we're late for work. But it's not too late. Okay? All right, the second page there, credit score killers. That's just some information for you guys to really look over again. If I'd have had that personally 20 years ago, it would have saved me from being at 415. It gives you some key things to concentrate on if I'm trying to improve my credit score, or what kills my credit score. Once I get my credit score where I want it to be, how do I keep it there? So that's what this credit score killers. Those are some good tips. And guys, the one thing that I ask with any of this, if you're getting anything out of this, if it's making an impact, if it's changing your thought process, the only thing that I ask with that information that you did is that you pass it on to somebody else that can use it. Okay? Because again, it's not about me, it's not about you, that now you have it. But you know, we can stop some generational curses where finance is concerned with some of this information.
Hey Kevin, what is considered a big balance?
I'm sorry?
It says carrying a big balance. What's considered under credit score killer? What's considered a big balance?
Good question. Carrying a balance, a big balance, basically speaks to particularly your large or your revolving debt. So big balances are how close am I to that high credit limit?
They're limit on the card.
Right.
Okay.
How close am I to that on
So
you
we're
know,
looking at 50% or higher, if it's half or more.
Yeah. Yeah, so like I said, that 25%, typically people say, you know, 30% utilization, but I say 25% just to err on the side of caution. So, you know, get those things down as soon as you can and create some margins for yourself. Guys, I have a passion for this, and I really enjoy what I do. I know that you guys have a passion for what you do, and you probably do a lot of what you do for free because you enjoy it that much. I take a lot of my time over and above what I do at Fifth Third as far as the time and the hours that I work there. That whole banker's hours is a myth, trust me. Trust me. But I really have a passion for it. You know, I'm blessed to be able to go to Operation Stand Down whenever Renee will have me there. We're blessed to be able to go out into the community and teach in schools. You know, I would love to see some of this stuff taught in high schools. Dave Ramsey has actually partnered with Fifth Third. We're the only bank, I believe, in the country, or one of the only ones that he has partnered with his financial peace program. So he's got some of us that are actually certified to go into the high schools here in the area and teach that. I'd love to see some of this stuff in place basket week. You know, everybody's not going directly to college right after graduation. You know, 2 weeks after I graduated at 18, I was on my way to boot camp, and I had none of this. Didn't have a clue. Okay? As I humbly appreciate the time. anything I can do to help, please. So, thank you.
Thank you.